Hi, welcome to BA Brew. I'm Lisa.
I'm Christina.
And I'm Debbie.
Thank you. So welcome back. This is the start of season 10 this time. So yeah, the seasons fly by. So thank you for joining us. Today we've got Christina with us and Debbie, and we're talking about business analysis and then the transition into doing an MBA, so a Master's in Business Administration. So first of all, from my understanding is that Christina, you've just graduated, haven't you, in September? And Debbie, you did your MBA way back in, I think, did you finish around 2003? Which feels like yesterday, doesn't it? It does feel like yesterday. Annoyingly, I'm still just halfway through the journey on module 6 out of 12. So why did you both want to do it then? So Christina, if I come to you first, what was the sort of catalyst for you wanting to do the MBA?
So yes, firstly, thank you for having me. Why I wanted to undertake that journey of an MBA, I wanted to see how effective I could be in the world of consulting. I have been around and worked on many projects, and suppose I would really like to actually I'll take on these where I can have more comprehensive knowledge and build up that knowledge in various business disciplines. Within an MBA course, it's finance, marketing, operations, strategy, all of these key pillars of our organization. And whilst we might all touch on such, functions within a business, as a BA, you only touch on parts of it in various stages of projects as and when you need to. I really wanted to get a bit of more of a comprehensive knowledge in these areas. And secondly, networking opportunities. Often in MBA programs, you're surrounded by people of a diverse range of people of all walks of life, but there are a lot of them that are senior leaders and very likely to be these senior stakeholders that one might work with in projects, and it was a great opportunity for me to network with them, and I suppose understand what they think about sort of the work that we do in our professions.
Okay, no, it's great. You're absolutely right. There's so many, because I don't know if it was the same structure as the one I'm doing, but there's 12 different topics, and you're right, they're all really, really key topics to be able to run a business and have that oversight from that level. So Debbie, how about yourself? What was your sort of rationale for doing the MBA?
It was interesting, really, because I had done quite a lot of learning earlier in sort of more technical areas, so around computer science. I'd done an Open University course on data and databases, all that sort of stuff, and I loved it because I really love technology. And I decided I wanted to do another course of learning and sort of do something a bit different. And I started doing an Open University Foundation in the arts, and I just found it really boring. And that's not because it is boring, it's because it just did not tick any boxes for me. Even though I love literature and all that, I just thought, this isn't doing this for me. And I saw Henley Business School, Henley Management College, as it was at the time, advertised an open session to discuss an MBA. And I thought, could be interesting. And as soon as they started talking about the program and the sorts of things you'd look at, I was a business analyst. I'd been very immersed in understanding technology within a business context. And suddenly there was this program that was all about the business context in so many different dimensions. And I could just feel my interest level going up and up and up. And as soon as I then started the program, I just thought, this is me. This is what I want to learn about. So it was, yeah, I mean, it's lovely to have the qualification, and obviously that's a driver, but the learning was absolutely phenomenal. And I've always thought it was one of the best learning experiences that I've ever had. So yeah, it just ticked all of my boxes. So Lisa, you're partway through. Come on, why did you decide to do it?
I'm just behind. I suppose so. When I first left school, a long time ago now, I did just a business apprenticeship. and it was brilliant. But I was one of these people, I didn't really know what I wanted to do for a very long time. And it was only when I got a job in IT, completely by chance, I thought, oh yes, this is where I kind of feel like I belong. And then even more so when I moved from software development into being a BA, and obviously I love the role, I love being a business analyst. And I suppose I've always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to go back and do a degree at some point. And it was either the choice between doing a kind of a bachelor's degree over 6 years part time, because obviously I'm working full time with Assist. And then I had this dilemma. I was talking to a friend about it, and she suggested, "Why don't you do the MBA? Surely the experience you've got so far, you might be able to just go straight into an MBA program." And I thought, "Oh wow, okay." I never even thought about that. Sort of that way into it. And as it happened, I applied. Didn't really expect much. Put forward a couple of pages of my experience in managing and my work history, and I got an unconditional offer back, and it was just a massive surprise, really. But I suppose, yeah, I suppose part of it was I wanted the badge. I wanted to prove I could learn at that level. Um, and a bit like you, Debbie, when I saw the list of the different topics, the different modules, I thought, wow, this could be really, really great. And I think the fact that I'd already got a career in business analysis, and I feel like I knew a fair bit already, it wasn't completely daunting. So I did know a fair bit already. Or I thought I did until I started anyway. So yeah, no, it's been great so far. It's been really great so far. Just to learn the bits you're interested in, the bits you perhaps want to pursue in the future. It's been brilliant. So how did you both do yours? How did you do yours, Christina? Did you do yours sort of part time online, or what was the?
Yes, yes, it was part time, and it was one of these executive MBAs that we did. And in terms of the format, it was quite interesting time because of COVID, and it was meant to be 100% face to face, and it ended up being hybrid.
Okay.
But I still, well, thankfully, at the sort of second, the latter half of my course, the restrictions eased up almost completely at that stage, and we were able to get back into campus.
It's quite a good time to have done an MBA, I think, because you're kind of confined to the house anyway.
Yes, I have to say those lockdown periods are probably the most productive times of my life. I actually did my CBAP, I did Lean Six Sigma, and started my MBA during that time.
That's impressive. How about yourself, Debbie? Then, so back then, I'm guessing was it face to face as well?
No, because I did a distance learning MBA. So it actually was over 4 years. And it was at the time when they were starting to move some of it online. So it was very hybrid. But we had workshops. So we had workshops and we had books to learn from and also online learning. And it was it was quite a multimedia type of program. But the workshops were then very, very practical and very much around, trying out different techniques and different problem situations and discussing case studies and all that type of thing, which was fascinating. And as Christina said earlier, also meeting other people. So we were in study groups. And so we had a group of about 8 of us, I think. And at every workshop, we'd get together and we would then discuss the case study, discuss what we'd learned, and all that type of thing. So it was very hybrid, and that was actually quite good in some ways because I can remember the business finance module, the module that usually strikes fear into the heart of most people, but probably not you, Christina, but the rest of us. And I remember sitting there with the books thinking, I have to understand this, and I'm going to go to a workshop, but we're not going to be taught this. This is, a lot of self-study. But it gave me quite a lot of confidence that if I did, really sort of work at something and I tried applying it, that I could actually understand and learn. So it was quite an intense process from that point of view. But yeah, it was over quite a few years.
Wow. Yeah, the thing is that the time flies, doesn't it? Because you're so, like your days, you're studying most days, I think, if especially if you're working full
Yes.
time. And some days it just feels like every hour counts, doesn't it, as well? It's quite full on.
Yes.
I'm really glad that I'm glad I've done the financial module now. Otherwise, I'd have been petrified at this point. I'm glad I've got that one out of the way.
But What's yours over, Lisa? Is yours about 3 years, something like
It's
that?
it's 2 years, but life got in the way a little bit last year, so I did take a couple of modules break. But I think hopefully I'm on track to finish now, early 2026. So yes,
Excellent.
we're getting there slowly but surely. Yeah. So mine's 100% online, which is it's great in the sense, like I say, I can work full time. I can do, if I want to work in the middle of the night, I can, which sometimes I have to. You often do have to when you've got family things going on. But so it was quite useful though, because we have micro lectures. So you get like a unit's worth of work. You go in, you log in, a couple of times a week. Watch your lectures, do your reading, read your books, read your articles, your journals, all that kind of thing. So it's really quite structured. So did you have any sort of like set ways of working, Christy? Did you have to adapt your ways of working? And have you got any top tips, I suppose, for anybody in that sense?
Absolutely, yes. I think we've had so many conversations, like you, Debbie, and possibly you, Lisa. Having a study group really helped to be sounding boards, and we can share our experiences trying to tweak ways of working. I'll probably say sort of how I structure my day as well, what works best for me, and I I suppose getting these assignments, making a start on these assignments first thing in the morning tend to help for me. That's just kind of my way of tackling it. It's as kind of Brian Tracy says in his famous book, "Eat that frog." That was my frog of the day, and I think with a structured plan, at least I had something to an objective in mind every day. And I just built out basically. If I had this assignment due on this day, it was basically a bit like a project planned. What the key milestones I need to hit in a certain week or certain weeks, months, leading up to this submission date, and that's how I tackled it. I kind of broken it down to manageable chunks so that I'm not intimidated to the extent of me just procrastination. That's very easy to do. If I could just build it to manageable chunks and tangible actions, I managed to sort of, get those out of the way a chunk at a time. So that's how I've tackled it, and still being able to, sneaking some holidays to, during the course of my MBA, having some time in the evening, albeit a bit more restricted. But yeah, I spend a bulk of my time in the morning and on my assignments and bits of learning after dinner in the evening. But I have a clear cut-off time just to make sure I have enough rest.
That's nice. It's very structured then. I think, yeah, that's something I found a little bit as well. The first thing in the morning, you really, well, I personally find I'm similar to you. It's the optimum time, isn't it, to take things in. But I like the approach. I like the way you've kind of thought of it as a project plan, and you do have set objectives at set times. Was that similar for you, Debbie? How did you're very organised anyway. How did you structure your time?
Yeah, very structured. I think you have to be, and you have to know the best time for you. So I'm like you guys. First thing in the morning, I can think much more clearly. So if there's something complex, that's when I try to really address it. But I know some people who are much, much better later in the evening into the early hours of the morning. That's when they sort of come alive. So the first thing you have to know is who you are. And
Yeah.
then you have to think about all of the other pressures, and I was very much first thing in the morning, get up early, maybe spend an hour or so, and then in the evening, maybe a couple of hours, but I might do more sort of just general reading in the evening, that type of thing. And then I used to do Saturday and Sunday, but not the whole day each time. So it would probably be, 3 to 4 hours on a Saturday and Sunday, so that, as Christina said, you're not completely exhausted because you could be, so you have to sort of give yourself break times as well. And you have to know what works best for you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think, and that I don't know how you found it in the beginning, but it takes a while to find your groove in that sense. Because the
Yeah.
first sort of three modules, I didn't know what was going on. I just felt like I'd got a mountain of reading to do. Trying to read these really sometimes really complex academic papers and all the theory, and studies of years and years gone by. And there's an awful lot, isn't there, to take in. I actually find reading in an evening is a really bad thing for me. There's many times I've woken up and the book's just fallen asleep on me. So I think we've probably
Yeah,
all
me
been
too.
there. Yeah. So I tend to do my reading first thing in the morning now, and I do my lectures that are kind of guided in the evening when I'm a bit more tired. But yeah, you're right. I think knowing yourself is a really key point. You've got to know how you work and how you're going to get the best out of the experience. So what about challenges then? So Debbie, if I come to you first for that one, did you find anything really challenging during the time that you did yours?
Yeah, there was one quite big challenge because not all MBAs require this, but Henley does. So you have to do a project, but you also have to do an academic dissertation. And the academic dissertation that I wanted to study was about business analysis. Okay.
Surprise.
I know you're astonished. Um, and remember, this was when I started doing that, that was 22, 24 years ago. Yeah, 24 years ago. So I started, doing this and you were sort of allocated a supervisor, but they were quite hands off at the time. I think now they're probably a little bit more involved. And I mentioned business analysis, and nobody knew what I was talking about. And there were no academic papers, there was nothing. And I kept trying to do it. And in the end, I had a meeting with the supervisor, and I said, look, every time I put in a proposal, you knock it back. I don't understand what's happening here. And he said, well, you haven't got any academic basis for what you're trying to study. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to do a doctoral dissertation at a master's level. So stop
Oh,
it. Okay.
Wow.
Because that's never going to fly. So I said, well, I want to study this thing called business analysis. So we had a conversation about it. And he said, okay, let's break it down. And in the end, my dissertation for my MBA was on the role of the internal information systems consultant,
wow.
because internal consultancy, there was academic basis for it, information systems, academic basis, and I could pull it together. But it took months and months to actually get that sorted because they didn't know what I was talking about.
Wow. And then, so is this what was this your inspiration then to go and do the doctorate then as well? That was about defining the role of the business analyst.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it was a few years later, but I thought there is unfinished business here, so we need to move on from that. But yeah, that was quite a big challenge in the MBA. So yeah. What about you, Christina? Did you have any particular areas of challenge?
Uh, yeah, I think there's well throughout my MBA course, I suppose that the challenge was as I was learning in my way through a module and I needed to write assignments that are directly relating to current business challenges, I almost needed to, um, sort of do some matchmaking, looking at areas of the business where I was working at the time. Is any challenges where I can actually utilize the knowledge I've accumulated in that particular module to, current business problems that allows me to write up the assignment. And I suppose that was I see that as a kind of by default a challenge because not everything falls into place so serendipitously. But in fact, I was able to find something to write about, but it always struck that fear. Oh, a new module! I've got to find such and such. I need to speak to certain particular business functions and ask them what I can or cannot write about, and sort of find some common ground for me to proceed with assignments. And when I got to my management research challenge, which is at the final stage of my MBA. I want to talk about service innovation and how it contributed to competitive advantage in small to medium sized UK consultancies, because I kind of moved roles from a larger one to one that is less mature, relatively speaking. And that involved potentially speaking to a lot of that organization's competitors, which I didn't know if that was going to fly as a concept. I really need to kind of hunker down on the ethics side of things and how that could be anonymized and how do I gain trust from all these really senior people I wanted to talk to So and make them understand I'm actually doing this really just for academic purposes, and it wasn't really to sort of potentially provide any information shouldn't be sharing with my current organization. So that was a bit of a challenge.
So yeah, I suppose there's many, isn't there? Lots of, especially like say relating it to your workplace as well. That does sound quite tricky.
Yeah.
But what about in terms of the flip side of that then, Christina? What do you think has been like the most valuable thing for you? I mean, obviously now you've done it, you've achieved it, and I suppose it's going to be a bit time for a rest now before your next thing. But what's been the most valuable thing for you? Do you think?
So the most valuable thing for me would be looking well was actually being with the study group and taking in all these very diverse perspectives in the cohort, which to some extent like really challenged what things I have believed in all along. That's been quite consistent in my own learning and career journey. um, to be challenged with something, many perspectives that's quite vastly different. So I think it has really sort of not that, but in a best possible way. Um, and so I think the networking part played such a valuable part of my own experience. And it's funny because I was just thinking about this question. So this kind of particular topic before this recording, and in my last recording for BA Brew, my first one, I talked about impactful analysis, and now but my answer to this question would be, well, the MBA's actually equipped me for some really core techniques, and but also the soft skills that leads to impactful leadership as well. That's ultimately it's kind of condensed a lot of almost like a lifetime's worth of what people need to know about running businesses. Those the business context, as Debbie mentioned earlier on, combined with the perspectives of some really quite senior business leaders who are in my cohort. It really allowed me to take a step back and kind of reflect and take in these kind of elements, and and sort of make me think about these as considerations in my workplace. That's been incredibly powerful, and it helped me build in some good practices as well to make an impact in a leadership position. Things like building in reflection time, being able to flag up any potential concerns on where I can course correct before things become issues, um, and being able to look at sort of where I am holistically in life. I don't know if that's your experience, Debbie, from Penny Business School, but they also did this personal development module, which was just so good. And it's a fundamental. If anyone wants to make an impact where they are, it's about kind of internalizing sort of your real life. Where are you at the moment? Looking at improvement areas and almost create this plan for your own life. Everything's within your reach, but what are your priorities at the moment? How will that sort of how will that impact your overarching goals? How will that then impact you in your leadership and how you kind of approach it? So I think that's another thing that became a key learning for me and an MBA.
Brilliant. There's so much, isn't there? So much to it, and there's so much you can take from it and apply into your working professional life as well. Sounds like you're doing that already, which is fantastic. And how about yourself, Debbie? What did you find the most valuable? I mean, obviously you went on to do bigger and better things, but how did the MBA kind of manifest in that way?
It was quite interesting, really, because I really felt that my MBA linked into business analysis and the world of, business change really closely. We talk about holistic thinking as business analysts. Having done an MBA, you really understand the holistic business. So it really did improve my work in business analysis, and that was really important to me. And some of the things that I learned, because I did some work with BCS at the time, I I was able to influence putting some of them in some of the BCS qualifications, like some of the strategy analysis, because I firmly believe that as a business analyst, you've got to have that golden thread up to what is the strategy of this organization, because I can't just come up with ideas for change and requirements for change without understanding that context. So it really gave me a lot of a deeper understanding of business analysis because I understood business better. But the other thing is, obviously, I've run a company for quite a few years now, and it gave me the grounding for that massively. And it's a qualification and a program of study that I really understand why so many business managers feel a need to do it and feel it's beneficial, because it does allow you to understand so many different aspects that you probably wouldn't understand any other way. So yeah, both levels, business analysis, really vital, and it really did improve that. But also, anything as a business manager or a senior executive, it's just fantastic, and it is definitely one of the best things I've ever done.
No, that's brilliant. Yeah, actually, the same question for myself. I think it's hard for me to answer at this point in time because I'm still like
Yeah.
I'm just in the thick of it, just trying to get through the modules, and keep them going. But
But have you got any thoughts, Lisa? Because you're in the middle of it. You've already done some modules. Can you see how that is helping you at all?
I'd say definitely, it's definitely helping. I'm an analyst. I already thought quite deeply about things anyway, but I feel like I'm learning things at a deeper level, but also a wider level as well. So it's just expanding the knowledge. And actually, it's quite humbling because you do think, sort of this point in your career, you do think you know an awful lot and you've seen it all before, and you've worked with all these different people with different personalities and politics and all these different things. But actually, when you start reading the books and when you start going through the modules, you start seeing that you don't know that much at all, and it's quite humbling. But also the bits you do learn, then you can bring back, like Christina was saying, back to the workplace. You do find yourself bringing it in, bringing that newfound knowledge into your role as well.
Yeah.
And to add to it, I think what I've also observed is the fact that all these senior leaders and people within my cohort, they might not really know what business analysis is, but they are actually utilizing and have put on the BA hat as throughout the whole course with their research, the analysis techniques have applied that led to the conclusions in their respective assignments. All are BAs in some one form or another, just in different hats and outfits. And it is very much one of those shape shifting professions that I find quite fascinating. So,
Mm.
absolutely, I think Debbie nailed it on the head when you're talking about exploring this profession a bit more, and in your PhD. I think that's a very valuable thing.
Yeah,
It was, doing the sort of doctorate and taking it that step further, and really having the privilege to work with, a lot of very expert specialist BAs who allowed me to interview them and take on board their insights. And then, to look at things like the service angle and service innovation, which I did. It's a privilege to be able to do that. And then what you want to do is feed it back in, don't you? And you want to help develop, the profession of business analysis that we know and love so well. And that's what it's all about, really, isn't it?
definitely. So, just to wrap that up, then, because we could literally talk about this. I certainly could for a lot longer. Christina, have you got any top tips for any BAs who are thinking about embarking on the MBA journey?
Yeah, I think it's certainly in my view it's definitely worth considering. And at any tints of hips, I'll probably say it might be worth sort of having a think and kind of define your goals about why why you want to do it, because I think is in our conversation, our reasons for undertaking a course like this might be different within each individual. So be clear about what your goals what you want to get out of it, and also suppose thinking about the mindset and making sure you step into the course if you decide to go for it. Stay open minded, because you have to be ready to learn and adapt. In during the course, it's very much a marathon, and you come across lots of different personalities within the cohort you're going to be in. So yeah, I think that's something to think about.
That's great, thank you. It does feel like a marathon, and then when it comes to like assignment day hand in, it's more of a sprint, isn't it? More a sprint, get it done. How about yourself, Debbie?
Well, I think I'd echo what Christina said, but just to sort of add to that, I think I have two mantras. One was to just keep on moving forward. And sometimes one day I might only be able to move forward for 10 minutes, but I kept on moving forward because all those little pieces added up and you just kept your momentum going. And the second thing was there are times when I sat at my desk and just thought, I can't do it. I can't go on. This is terrible. I'm not capable, etc., etc. And one of the lecturers at Henley said to me when I did my doctorate, but it applies to the MBA, yeah, just suck it up and get on with it. And I always had that in my head and just kept telling myself, suck it up and get on with it. And I know it sounds harsh, but it really helped.
Yeah, but it just keeps you moving forward, doesn't it? No matter what what it throws at you, whatever happens, you just keep on with it. I think I totally agree with what you both said there. I think for me, it just be to don't give up.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic course. I've absolutely loved it so far. Immerse yourself in it, enjoy it, and just, yeah, just do it really. So thank you so much for joining me on this topic. It's been really wonderful to talk about it and just see how, how the impact it's made on both of you, and hopefully me in the end when I finally catch up and get it finished as well. So thank you. To our viewers and listeners, thank you so much for being here. If you would like to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, we'd very much appreciate that. And if you have any ideas for any future podcasts, please let us know on the email address babrew@assistkd.com. Thank you.